Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman once again, back with another video. This time I want to look at the chart of Gordon Ramsay. Now, I've seen him a lot on TV. I'm sure some of you have. Some people like him, some people don't like him. I do like him. I mean, I think he's a pretty cool guy. I don't know. I mean, I like his shows. I like Master Chef, and I've watched a bunch of Hell's Kitchen, and that's cool, and some of his other shows. Anyway, I think he's an interesting character. He's got the same big three as me, not in the same order, but so I can relate. But let me share my screen, get right into it. Okay, Gordon Ramsay, November 8th, 1966, 6:05 p.m. in Johnstone, Scotland, UK. Now, he's got a pretty interesting chart, I think. I mean, well, you kind of have to be like super famous like he is and all the other super famous people. Like they all have some really, really interesting things in their chart, which makes it fun to read. I mean, that's why I like doing it. I mean, if you know how to read a chart and then you read famous people, it's really cool because you actually get to see the way they are and then you see their chart. And it's a lot more revealing that even sometimes than doing a reading for someone in person, because you don't actually know that person all that well and you don't know what they're like, and you're just meeting them for like an hour or whatever, and they could be very different in the rest of their life and you have no idea. But like with somebody like Gordon Ramsay, I'm seeing him on TV all the time and I'm seeing different sides of him, and I'm seeing him when he's doing this or that and the other, interacting with Hell's Kitchen participants or Master Chef or the kids, or in the other stuff he does, and he's different at different times, right? So anyway, it's really interesting. He has his sun not only conjunct Venus and Scorpio, it's Cazimi. Cazimi. If you don't know what that means, I'm going to expand the screen just so you can see here. 1553 and 1549. They are seconds apart. It's at the heart of the sun. It's called Cazimi. When Venus is, see, normally when a planet is near the sun, it gets combust. Like I have my Venus 4 degrees away from the sun. That's combust. That's very combust. But when it's exactly conjunct the sun, or when it's, I think it's like 17 minutes away. I said seconds earlier, I meant minutes. Within 17 minutes, then it's considered Cazimi. It's in the heart of the sun and it gains special energy. And why is that significant? Number one, Venus. What does Venus represent? I mean, what does sun represent? I mean, so sun is like the bulk of our personality. It's how we interact with the world. It's not really our self. If we want to know our truest self, that's more the ascendant. But the sun, and it's funny because even I do this. People are like, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Scorpio, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Leo, whatever. Like whatever their sun sign is, that's what they say, I am. But that's not really who we are. It's how we relate to the world. The sun is our connection to the whole world, right? Like just like when the sun's out, we go out and we do our worldly affairs. The moon is like our inner mind and emotions and emotional satisfaction, right? And then our ascendant is the most authentically us. It most authentically represents who we are in this life. It's not our true self because, we die and then we get reborn. At least that's what I believe, and I think that's a pretty common belief these days, but maybe not everyone believes. People believe all kinds of stuff. Anyway, that's what I think. Anyway, the sun is really, the other way to say it, look at it, is that, and I know I said this before, we don't live on the sun. How can the sun be us when we don't live on the sun? Like, just be practical for a moment. The sun's millions of miles away. The moon is much closer to us. We're much more the moon than we are the sun, but we're actually the earth, and this represents the spin of the earth. So that's just a really quick lesson in the big three, which one is most authentically us. It's the ascendant. That represents the spin of the earth. We live on the earth, guys. Breaking news, we live on the earth. Don't want to spoil it for you, but we don't live on the sun. The sun is not who we are. We are on the earth, not on the sun. Anyway, the sun does represent the bulk of our personality. It's the biggest bright shining light. It's a star, so it's like our personality, right? And when it's conjunct Venus, Venus is beauty, it's art, it's aesthetics, it's joy and what we do for fun. Venus is what we love to do, right? It's our joy. It's how we have fun. It's how we have a good time. So Sun conjunct Venus, number one. Venus has a lot of beauty to the sun. It creates actually a very beautiful appearance, Venus conjunct the sun. Venus conjunct the sun, they like to take care of themselves and look really nice. And Ramsay works out. He's physical. I mean, he's not super thin, but he does work out. He does bicycle, and he's very aware of his, physique and his shape and his health and his looks. And I've heard a lot of girls say that, whoa, he's so attractive, And back when I had my hair, I was a lot more attractive too. I'm still attractive. I mean, some people find me attractive, but I mean, obviously hair is attractive. Anyway, enough about me. But this is like even more so because Venus is Cazimi, the sun. So very, very strong sun Venus. But also, like, if you ever seen him cook and plate and like decorate his food, he's very Venusian. Like, he really knows Venus. That's the sun conjunct Venus, right? And it's also south node. We can't forget the south node. I mean, that's huge in this equation. That's 16 degrees 11. This is such a tight triple conjunction. South node, sun, and Venus, right? And that's why he's like so overly confident and like his Venusian skills are really well developed. Whatever we have conjunct the south node, it's what we came in this world with. We know, like, deeply, intuitively, innately. Nobody has to tell us how to do that. We just know it. And south node conjunct the sun, they can be so overly confident. They just naturally shine in front of a camera. They love attention. And it can go either way with south node. South node is like one of those things that it's like, if you, wherever it is in your chart, if you have a planet conjunct that, that's something that you know really well. But at the same time, if you're not leaning into that side of yourself, because it is the south node, it's kind of like, all right, I don't want to deal with that. Like it's like graduating something. Like, let's say you graduated like high school or college, like you're so familiar with it. You can go back and you're just like, oh man, I know everything about this place. I know it like the back of my hand, but I don't want to be here anymore, right? So it's like, if somebody chooses to go back into their south node, they have to be willing. And then it's like they're master of that domain. But if they're not willing, it's like too painful or too annoying. It's like irritating, right? Like you just don't want to do that. Like, so that's the south node. It's like a choice, like whether to lean into that side of yourself or not. And so with the sun, like, there can be enormous confidence, but then sometimes it's like, they don't want even that part of themselves anymore. They want to step away from that. So I'm sure like Ramsay, I mean, he makes tons of money doing, the TV shows and all that, but he probably really needs to turn it off also and just be like alone, because his north node's in the 12th house in Taurus, which I'm gonna get to more about that. But 12th house definitely wants to be. So I'd say Ramsay definitely loves his alone time when he's not in front of the camera. In fact, I think he really needs it. He's got his moon in Virgo. I mean, not just the sun. Look at this moon. Again, bam, exactly conjunct Uranus. And then 3 degrees away, Pluto. 5 degrees away, Mars. This is super intense in Virgo, right? And I have a Virgo moon. In fact, my Virgo moon would be right next to his Pluto, 19 degrees. And my north node would be right about here. Anyway, Virgo moon is so exacting, so precision oriented. We saw that with Elon Musk. And I mean, I have it too. And it's like, Virgo Moon wants things to be perfect. And we see that with, in his shows, where he's just like, it's not good enough, smashes things down, donkey. Yeah, that's not obviously not his son. I didn't even get to this. Venus does not like to be in Scorpio, by the way. It's super intense. It loves to be in Taurus, but because that's its rulership. But that's the one thing about this, that this Venus, even though it's empowered by the sun, I think sometimes it gets it's just not going to work right. Like, I've seen him do like this one, I can't even remember what cooking show it was, but he was trying to make pad thai for a pad thai chef, and the pad thai chef was not having. He's like, no, this is not pad thai, not good. And he's like, but it tastes good, doesn't it? It's like, no, it doesn't taste good to me. So it's like, okay, Gordon Ramsay's not perfect, all right? He doesn't always make the best food. Anyway, that's, because Scorpio is death and rebirth. Sometimes it goes down. Sometimes planets or things in Scorpio, especially if they're not in good dignity, it's going to go down. It's going to take a hit. So I think Ramsay does take hits in Scorpio. Sometimes he's defeated, but then he's reborn. But Virgo and Scorpio both are so intense, super intense, right? And the Virgo is just cutting and critical and so sharp and so precision and so annoyed. Like, Virgo's just annoyed with all your shit. It's just constantly annoyed with all your shit. So don't even forget it. But and the moon, like I said before, like Elon Musk, you're not always going to see it. Like, you're seeing it more with Ramsay because of that, the Gemini ascendant, which can't shut up, and then the very bold, in your face Scorpio. Like, Scorpio is just like, it's just not gonna take your shit, right? It's just not. And then Uranus too. He's so emotionally excited with Uranus conjunct the moon. Like, his emotions, his moon, his inner peace is just disturbed. He's not a peaceful, like Pluto. Oh my God. I mean, this is like this is Pluto and Uranus. This is the 60s, right? This is the revolutionary time. Mars is here too. I mean, his moon is quite scorpionic too because of the influence of Pluto and Mars, plus Uranus. This is explosive. He's so emotionally explosive. And it's opposite Saturn, directly opposite Saturn, 23 degrees, 23 degrees, 23 degrees, right? That's so, and then Chiron. And so what this is, oppositions always represent relationships. And so whenever you see him yelling at someone, that's this. And he's always doing that. He's always projecting this opposition towards others. Like, he's obviously the moon, Uranus, Pluto, Mars, here in the fourth whole sign house. His houses are messed up, by the way, but this is mostly fourth house. It's fourth whole sign and fourth quadrant, even though it's leaning into the fifth quadrant. It's still mostly fourth house, and I'll get into that more. And this is mostly 10th house. But here he's projecting Chiron, which is wounded reject, and then Saturn, which doesn't have any dignity in Pisces. Not much. And they're both retrograde. I mean, he's very much projecting this onto others because this is not like a strong conjunction. Because there's not a lot of dignity here. This is much stronger, much more powerful, right? And so he's constantly meeting these like everyone else to him seems like Saturn and Chiron retrograde in Pisces. That's what they feel like to him. And he's yelling at him because it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Donkey! Donut! Whatever. I don't. He comes up with all these, because it's Scorpio, Gemini ascendant. So he comes up with these funny names for people. It's really, really, really funny and entertaining. Gemini ascendants are like that. Like, I'm Gemini sun, but Gemini ascendants are like, man, it's super interesting and funny. But the reason I know this is fourth house is because fourth house deals with home, but also real estate. Like, and just think about this. Like, he has, I mean, he's a multi-million. He's very rich. Like, he's in the tens of million. He's like, I don't know, 70 some $million worth. I don't know how many. But he's got houses, not just houses that are worth millions of dollars. He's also got so many restaurants. Real estate, what are restaurants? Restaurants are physical locations. Remember, fourth house is the original rule of Cancer, or Cancer's original home, Cancer. What is Cancer? The crab. What does crab have? The shell, the crab shell. That's physical building. Crabs live inside their crab shell. That's the physical building. So restaurant is fourth house. I don't know if you know that, but that's what it is. A store, a restaurant, a house, real estate, anything like that. Anything where it's like a crab shell, a physical house, physical building, bricks, mortar, stone, all that. It's the crab shell. It's the fourth house. And when Mars is here, Mars especially, that's going to bring real estate. Mars in the fourth. Mars in the fourth is not great, but it is good for real estate. And then Moon, and then, Moon 2, Virgo is fine for all of these things. Virgo is very, physical. I mean, it's mental, but it's very, like, it's not Pisces, where Pisces is living in dream world. Virgo is very realistic and reality oriented, right? All these planets here are going to give a lot of energy towards real estate, especially the Mars, right? And the sixth house, that's cooking, right? That's mundane activity. Cooking is mundane, the mundane daily. Also competitiveness. He's very competitive, right? He wanted to be a footballer, which in America we call soccer, when he was young, but he had a bum knee in his football career. That's here. That's Chiron, especially, but also Saturn, right? So I was wondering, like, why is he so famous? Okay, well, like restaurants right here. But then, Sun conjunct Venus and South Node, right? That's also very, very strong for, right? The Sun rules Leo. Sun rules fame. So he's got a very strong, South Node conjunct the Sun. Definitely, not all South Node conjunct the Sun is going to be famous, but they can be. And then North Node in Taurus. So he's got South Node and North Node. South Node conjunct Venus. Venus rules Taurus. So South Node, he got into food when he was young. South Node conjunct Venus. Sun conjunct Venus. So, right, Venus is the significator, especially in the sixth house, of food. Venus in the sixth house means somebody who can cook food, especially if it's in good dignity. South Node Venus, not always going to be food, but it can be food. Right? Because Venus rules Taurus. And Taurus, we know, is food. North Node in Taurus. So this is somebody who's going to start out one way and keep going that same way throughout their whole life, right? Because South Node Venus rules Taurus, North Node in the sign of Venus, Taurus. It's the same thing. South Node Venus, North Node Taurus. He starts out with food and he goes towards food. And then what else? Why is he so famous? Why is he on all the TV? Why is he always behind the camera? Well, 12th house, right? That's clearly 12th house. 12th house cusp is in Taurus. It's inside the 12th house cusp. 12th house whole sign house. Clearly 12th house. Clearly 6th house. 12th house is the realm of creativity and imagination. Film, photography, alter egos, behind the scenes, right? Yeah, 12th, you see a lot of actors have 12th house stuff. A lot of people who are in film, photography, but also anything creative, the arts, music, things like that. Yeah. And so he's got a North Node in Taurus in the 12th house. That's very much food, film, TV, movies, and all that. Right? That's very clear. a Saturn Chiron here is really interesting because it's basically conjunct the 11th house cusp, but I don't think this is 11th house. I don't think it's 11th house. Why? Because it's 10th house whole sign house. And you can see like he's born so far north that his angles are really messed up. But if it was in the 11th house, that would inhibit his career success. But it hasn't. Now you might say, well, it's inhibiting this would inhibit his career. But we have all these planets over here that gave him so much success with his restaurant. And then in the 6th house, we're getting this very strong conjunction. I think it's just overriding this, right? He did have some limitations in his career, especially as a footballer. He had a wonky knee or something like that. He had an injury. And so there was some limitation there, but it's just not, I mean, he obviously has a very successful career. So Saturn's also retrograde, so that might have something to do with it, right? Retrograde planets behave differently. Saturn direct might be much more limiting, especially if it's not in good dignity, than it would than a direct Saturn, than a retrograde Saturn. Like for instance, I have direct Saturn in Leo in the 10th house. 9th house quadrant, but 10th house, my MC is in so it's influencing the 10th house very strongly. And my career is very slow to take off. Like I'm 46 and I really not very far, and I've had huge limitations as far as my career success. And I thank Saturn for that, Saturn has really blessed me with no career success. I'm being facetious. But no, Saturn does that. Saturn limits you wherever it is. But I think it's probably because Saturn's retrograde here. Yeah, but I think it's really the 10th house, and because I think this fourth directly opposite these planets, which I see clearly as the 4th house with all the restaurants. You could say 5th house with his career success. Like 5th house does deal with like being on this Leo's original house. You can make that case, but I feel like it's more 4th house. So yeah, Jupiter is in Leo, and that's in the 3rd house. 3rd house will give him not only great communication skills. Jupiter's expanding that, bringing benefic qualities to that. But also skills of the hands. And Leo obviously is, loves to be on stage, loves to be in front of the camera, and Jupiter's helping all with that. It's trine Mercury. Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius. Not a great Mercury because opposite its ruler in Gemini. It is ascendant lord, but this is helping with his speaking, right? Jupiter trine Mercury, Jupiter in the 3rd, trine Mercury. It makes him a good speaker. And then Mercury is trine its dispositor, Jupiter. So, that helps. And it's going to make him much more philosophical, more adventurous. He loves to travel and go on adventures. And it just helps him be a good natural speaker. He's not going to be a mathematician or a scientist or anything like that. His Mercury is, it's not nearly focused enough, not detailed enough for that. But he probably doesn't want to be. Yeah. Neptune is here also in the 6th house. You can see it's right there. Oops, sorry about that. And that's just going to help. That's just going to make him add another dimension to his already very powerful Sun, Venus, South Node conjunction in the 6th house. That's going to add to his cooking. Here's his cooking ability. Here's his restaurants. Here's the film. And here's, I don't know. Saturn in the 10th house is generally quite good. It gives a big career. I don't know if Chiron's really doing very much here. I guess Chiron you could make a case for Chiron being a teacher and Chiron plus Saturn together being an authority figure, a leader. Yeah, in Pisces probably makes him more compassionate and caring. Because Chiron has different sides. I mean, it is the wounded reject, but it also is a teacher, a healer, a wise person. I think even an astrologer, by the way. And then Saturn is restriction, hard work, delays, but also authority, the law, not the creator of the law, but the enforcer of the law. It's the top ceiling, the top, the top authority, and he does have that. So Saturn in the 10th, I would say, definitely has a very strong ability to be leader, right? So yeah, there's that. And it's square the ascendant. I think this is really adding to a lot to his intensity. I mean, you could, he's but not all Scorpios are that intense. Like you could say, oh, a Scorpio, that's why he's so intense, or Virgo Moon. No, I mean, yeah, I'm Virgo Moon. I'm pretty intense, but I'm not like Gordon Ramsay. I mean, I can yell. I have a temper and everything, but not too many. I've known Scorpios. I've known Scorpios pretty well. I've lived with Scorpios, and they're not like that, right? So I mean, this huge T-square is a big part of that tension, right? Mars and Pluto and Uranus conjunct the Moon opposite Saturn, both square the ascendant tightly. It's really super intense, super charged up, fiery. And then the Scorpio, when Scorpio does get mad, it is very intense, But Scorpios normally aren't. They're not generally out to fight and yell and scream and intimidate people. But that's what this is. That's the Virgo. Virgo can be very intense. You don't think of it, but it can be, especially when it's got Mars and Pluto and Uranus and the Moon, because the Moon is not but the Moon is passive, so the Moon's going to take on all these qualities. It's a very intense Moon, opposite Saturn too, right? And then both square the ascendant. That's just adding tension. That's so intense, super duper intense, right? What can I say? Let me check the addition. Let me go back here. I already checked the additional tables, but I want to show you. Okay, nothing's out of bounds. Got a few retrogrades here, but what's interesting is that actually his Mercury just turned retrograde. You can see either that. I didn't check the ephemera, so actually it could. Let me see. Yeah, it just turned retrograde because of the position. Yeah, but it's moving very slow is my point. 18 degrees, or no, it's 18 minutes, 31 seconds. That's very slow. And what that represents, not only excellent, skills. A very slow Mercury shows, because Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, and skills, especially skills of the hands, right? I have a very slow Mercury. My friend that I went to high school with, I think he was born 2 days before me, so his Mercury is much slower. Like Mercury moves so fast, like days count. Like he has mad skills. And that's what it represents. Mercury represents a stationary Mercury represents skills, like excellent skills. Now it can depending on what planet it's in. It could be intellectual skills or it could be skills of the hands. In this case, because our Mercury is in Taurus, It was more artistic, creative skills, right? He was excellent. He is an excellent guitar player and also an excellent painter, drawer, craftsman. That's what it does. I'm excellent with a knife, and I'm also I don't practice anymore, but with drawing and painting. Like I'm not an excellent. We're drawing because I'm not that good with color, but like with drawing. But that's how I know. Like he's very skilled, and he's very skilled with a knife. That's what that represents. Yeah. And then the Jupiter, because Jupiter's in the third house, that's going to help that. That's going to give it. It's not going to make him more skilled, but it's going to give him much more. It's just going to expand third house qualities and make it much more gifts. Jupiter brings gifts, so it's going to make it more Jupiterian, just like I don't know, big and wonderful. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for Gordon Ramsay. Oh, so just one other thing. Saturn is trine Neptune, and that actually helps because Neptune is the ruler of, or the co-ruler of Pisces. So that does give Saturn extra help here. So, I mean, maybe the retrograde plus the trine to Neptune is making this Saturn less of a stumbling block for his career, right? So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for Gordon Ramsay. I hope you enjoy this. I enjoyed it. I enjoy reading charts, and if you want to get your chart read by me, you know what to do. Go to my website, macroastrology.com, or email me at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Hit the bell icon. You know what to do. You know the thing. All right, guys, that's it for now. Bye. See you next time. All right.